Hi guys, Brain here, and welcome to another commentary video. This video is probably going to be a little bit more on the ranty side, and it's going to remind you of the good old days, if you've been with the channel for a very, very long time, where I was a very, very jaded and angry killer man, and I hated about every survivor perk that ever existed in the game, because all survivor perks were OP and terrible, and I hated them so much. But now, that was an exaggeration on my end back in the day. The perks, some of the perks were kind of crazy, like Old Dead Heart and stuff like that, but a lot of it was just me kind of being a little bit of a baby. But for the first time in forever, I feel like I've really actually seen and identified a perk that is like quite literally has zero counterplay and it's just like the stupidest thing in the universe. And to be fair, I'm going to say it's not really made that way unless you pair it with at least one other perk. But regardless, I have found that this perk combo, and it's because of one perk in particular, really doesn't have any sort of counterplay, and it more than once has literally cost an entire game for me. It has literally turned a 3K or a 4K to a 2K or a 1K. And what perk am I talking about? I'm talking about Buckle Up. 100,000% talking about Buckle Up. So let's go ahead and get into why this perk is stupid and why it does not have counterplay. When the Buckle Up changes first came through, I was like, oh, well, that seems kind of scary. But there are a lot of things that initially in Dead by Daylight that seem scary, but don't actually end up being scary, because unless these things are like abused by a Swift, you know, they don't end up being that bad, right? And even then, like, you only run into that like a Swift that's abusing it every once in a while. I think a perfect example of a group of perks that people thought this was going to happen with was the teamwork perks with the twins, and not the Talita, you know, like those two, right? They had a lot of teamwork perks that scared people. They had the friendly competition, they had the haste one with power of two, I think it's called. Yeah, they had those teamwork perks that people were scared of because, well, they didn't seem bad on their own, but in, you know, in a Swift perhaps, maybe in a coordinated group, these perks could actually be very, very overpowered and very, very frustrating to deal with. Didn't end up being that way. And that's a tale as old as time. There's been plenty of perks that people pointed out that said, hey, in a Swift, this is probably going to be abusable. People thought about that about Boon Dark Theory. Yoichi's Boon Dark Theory, the speed one. People thought that was going to be abusable. People thought that one was going to be OP when used in groups. Obviously, that didn't happen. Obviously, that wasn't a thing. So naturally, when people make the same assertions about Buckle Up initially, I was like, you know, I was kind of hesitant. I mean, in general, nowadays, I'm more hesitant about any sort of claim like that because, you know, controversy creates clicks, and I feel like a lot of DBD content creators kind of farm controversy so they can get attention. So, you know, that's how that goes. So I'm always kind of hesitant to believe that something's OP or broken or bad for the game's health. I kind of want to wait and see a lot of the time. So the perfect example, a lot of people are wanting me to, like, what do you think about the fast vaults, like the new fast vaults? And I'm like, I don't really know yet. Like, I'm like, you know, I'm kind of working out my feelings on them and trying to actually like play and, you know, have myself get as much exposure to them as possible before I formulate a strong opinion, rather than just hearing one content creator say they're busted and, you know, calling it a day. But in terms of Buckle Up specifically, I have seen this perk, like I said, quite literally turn games from a 3 or 4K into a 2 or 1K. And I've experienced personally myself. Now, the reason that Buckle Up is as strong as it is because it provides endurance not only for the person that you are picking up. By the way, hold on, we should probably cover what the perk actually does first for those of you who don't know. Buckle Up is an Ashley Williams teachable, which gives you the ability when a person is in the dying state that you see the killer, the aura of the killer. But the big important thing that it does that, you know, makes it very, very strong, we're going to talk about, is when you complete a healing action, when you actually pick somebody up off the ground, picking up from the pick them up from the slug state, both of you, keyword both of you, get endurance for 10 seconds. Both of you get endurance for 10 seconds. Both of you get endurance for 10 seconds. That got me. If it was giving the person that just got up endurance, that kind of makes We're Gonna Live Forever kind of a little redundant. But otherwise, like, okay, that's fine. Like slugging is a killer playstyle that's very common, and obviously way more common with characters like Oni, twins, that sort of thing. So having a survivor perk that helps, you know, kind of like a, you know, if I bring this perk, I'm prepared for slugging, not a bad idea. Definitely not a bad idea. Definitely not a bad perk design, just in concept. I think the thing that makes this really stupid and like really brings this into like a place of problematic, like a problematic zone, is that typically the way people try to use this perk is they'll pair it with something like for the peepo. So you'll be chasing someone and the other person will be kind of just like hovering around as if they were going for a flashlight save. And when you down that person, obviously you guys were in chase, so you were probably near some sort of loop. You were in some sort of tile, you were by near some sort of pallet. So you'll down that person, and by the time that you're like going through your weapon right animation and going to like pick them up, or you know, heaven forbid you actually like like look around for a second to check for like a flashlight saver or something, or take more than 2 seconds to pick up the guy, this person runs in with 4 of the people, just hits their little button, hits one button, by the way, hits one button, that person is up again. That person you just downed is up, but you can't hit them because they have endurance for 10 seconds. And if you choose to wait out the endurance, like I said, you probably were in a tile when you downed them, so they're going to reach whatever resource, whether that be window, pallet, whatever they need. So you can't just wait out their endurance and down them, but you also can't go after the person that actually enacted the buckle up for the people, because once again, it gives both people endurance for 10 seconds. And once again, you're in the same situation where, like, you know, likely you were in a tile or something, or near some sort of resource when you downed that person. So the person that came in for the save or the buckle up use probably also has resources to, you know, to use against you. So you can't wait out their endurance for 10 seconds either. So you're kind of in this situation where it literally is a lose-lose, and there is no answer. There quite literally is no answer. You're quite literally in a situation where there is no right answer whatsoever. I would argue, and this might be a very emotional, I try not to make emotional takes, okay? I try to be as, like, you know, as down, as realistic and as the things are in my takes as possible, and try not to kind of like play sides or overreact. I feel like this is quite literally giving me old Dead Hard vibes. It really does. It's like, I outplay you, you press the E key, you have invincibility, you make it to the pallet anyway. This is how this feels. It literally feels the exact same way as old Dead Hard. I outplay you, I down you, but just because somebody was nearby with 4 of the people and buckle up, now my down is just completely nullified, and I literally can't stop it. You have 10 seconds of invincibility on both sides. And you can't even circumvent it with killers like Deathslinger, killers like Legion, who enact deep wounds to get rid of endurance, because when you down someone, they lose their they lose the deep wound state. They don't have to mend on the ground. That's not a thing. So when you pull them up, they're gonna have the ability to, you know, take an endurance hit. So like literally, unless you just like precognitively knew that somebody was like lurking nearby trying to get their for the people buckle up value, and you hit them with deep wounds and first with specifically playing one of the characters that enacts it, or using an add-on that specifically enacts it, that the person that picked them up is also invincible. And it's just, it literally does not have counterplay. I think that's the thing that makes it disgusting. It literally does not have counterplay. You just gotta hope. You just got, it's literally, see, this is what makes me feel like it's old Dead Hard. This is literally what makes me feel like it's old Dead Hard, because old Dead Hard was the same way. If old Dead Hard, you know, if you were out in the middle of nowhere, like you're in a dead zone, waiting it out was not a problem. Because like, who cares if you dead hard out in the middle of a dead zone? Like, I'm still gonna down you. But buckle up's the same way. Like if you go up and you buckle up somebody out in the middle of a dead zone, I can probably wait 10 seconds and still down you. But like, I shouldn't have to. Like, this is where it gets even worse. Is like, there is no trade-off for this. There is no trade-off. Like, there is no trade-off. Like zero. Like absolutely none. It's not even like made for this, where you at least you have to play injured, so at least you're one shot down, right? Like what is the downside to running buckle up? For how strong, for 10 seconds of endurance on 2 players? Just cause? What is the counterplay? What is the downside? Not the counterplay. What is the downside? What, like, you don't have to be injured, you don't have to be anything. Like, it just goes. That is so crazy. How did we, okay, like, I'm just angry. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm flustered. I'm flustered. I'm that upset about it. Like, how did they think this was okay? Like, I don't know. Did they not play test it? Did they not think that maybe people would abuse this? Because, like, this is, I would argue this is worse than made for this. Like I said, at least made for this, you got to be injured. At least you're playing, you know, essentially one shot the entire game if you want your made for this value. Like, buckle up just goes. And there's no input from you. There's no skill required. You literally walk up and hold one button. And with the case of For the People, you're literally just tapping a button. And you get your value. You get your 10 seconds of endurance for 2 players. 10 seconds of invincibility for 2 players? Just because you pressed 1 button? Like, brother, that makes made for this look complicated. I literally do not know how they thought this was okay. And it's not even a punishment for slugging like it's intended to be, because like I said, like in my example of when I was playing Nemesis on Groaning Storehouse, I downed a person and they ran in, it like picked them up out from under me because I downed them through a window and I had to vault through the window to go pick them up. And by the time I was vaulted through the window, this Kate had run in For the People, buckled it up to her, and because we were at Shack, they just ran back and kept looping Shack. Like, it wasn't even like I was slugging her and it was a counter to slugging. Like, I downed her through a window and had to vault the window because I had to pick her up, or else I was gonna have to walk around all the way around Shack. And in that like second and a half that I vault the window, she runs in and picks her up. And now there's just nothing I can do. Like, I wasn't even being punished for anything. Like, I didn't even do anything. Like, not that like slugging is wrong, but like slugging is a play, right? Like, I wasn't even being punished for a play. I didn't do anything. I was being punished. And I was like, what is happening? This is stupid. But yeah, this perk is dumb and stupid. And it's one of those things where like, it's literally like, I react to seeing Buckle Up For the People in my lobbies the same way I reacted to seeing people using Old Boy Lover. Like, I see that in my lobbies, I'm like, you're stinky and I hate you. You're abusing something you know is busted and you know is broken, and you're a shithead for it. Like, you are a dick. You're an a-hole if you're using this. Like, you know this is busted, you know it has no counterplay, and you're doing it to you're bullying. You're like, this is a bully combo, and you're using it because you know it's busted and you know it has no counterplay, and you know you're being frustrating. I'm not accepting anything else. Dead by Daylight behavior. You gotta change this perk, because you, for the most part, since 6.1, ever since we got rid of Overbrine Eruption and all this stuff, you've been doing a really good job at making sure perks have counterplay, making sure perks can be strong but not overpowered, and like, we don't want to go down to the Dark Ages again. I won't go back. You can't make me go back to the days where I have to rant about Dead Hard like every day on stream, because like, this perk literally just has no counterplay and it makes me angry, and I'm just talking about it all the time. We're not going back to the Dark Ages. You have learned from this behavior. You have learned from making perks like this. Please fix this. Please fix this. If you want my suggestion, what I would do is I would take a hard look at like We're Gonna Forever and Buckle Up and see like where we could, split some things up among these perks, because this perk does make We're Gonna Live Forever completely redundant, even if it was only for the endurance for one person and not both. So I would kind of look at like making these perks function well together, or spreading aspects of both across each other, instead of like just making Buckle Up the end all be all of pickup perks and also uncounterable. let's try to do something like that, because this perk in its current state is just unfair and I hate it. So yeah, what do you guys think of Buckle Up? Let me know down in the comments below. And other than that, that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. But other than that, it's gonna be it. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you tomorrow, but if I don't, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.